Hello, my friends. It's a great pleasure and honor for me to be speaking with a namesake. His name is Manish Chopra, PhD, and he's written this book, The Equanimous Mind, and how a 10-day meditation boot camp unexpectedly awakened him to the fundamentals of life and existence. Manish is a senior partner at the global management consulting firm, McKinsey Company. He counsels CEOs, advises boards on their most strategic issues. Grew up in India and lives in New York, actually. So, Manish, thanks for joining me today.
Of course, it's quite an honor, Deepak, to be here.
Well, thank you. Let's go over a little bit of the history behind this book. So, give me some background about how you got to ultimately write this.
Sure. Thanks for asking. It is a bit of a longish history, so I'll try to come up with a brief synopsis anyway. Now almost 20 years ago, my wife had gone and attended a Vipassana meditation retreat in Massachusetts. And she came back with a lot of clarity of mind and started to encourage me to do the same thing. And I was a, intensely driven, ambitious corporate guy, and I was not interested, never mind, in the idea of going away for 10 days, but the idea of spirituality or even these Eastern techniques, if I could call them, did not appeal to me, despite the fact that I did grow up in India, because maybe it's a bit of a turn off because see, in India, there's so much, I'll call it pseudo spirituality or guruism and so forth. But she kept at it for 5 years. And incidentally, we had moved to Asia for a couple of years. We were based in Singapore. And she found a location in Mumbai that was offering the executive version of the retreat. And she said, Manish, I have the perfect solution. You go to Mumbai. And she had to work at the time, and off I went. And I was not just reluctant, I was actually quite skeptical, because with my science background in engineering, I'm a reductionist thinker, a skeptic at heart. Unless something I can prove to myself, I don't just believe in it. And I promised her that I would stay for a day to at least see what they had to offer. And I said, if there is any guruism involved, if there is any mantra involved, or if there is any attempt to convert me to a different religion, I will quickly depart. And she said, no problem, just stay for a day. And the rest is a little bit of history, in the sense that from within the program, successively, day by day, I started to immediately feel some significant changes happening both in my mind and body, in my outlook. And I was surprising myself, because I had gone in with a very clear expectation to find some loophole, that there's some gimmick involved. Why are so many people following this thing? And I couldn't. And I came away from it inspired. And then I felt this urge, Deepak, to answer your question, how the book came about. I almost felt an obligation to share what had happened with me with others, because I knew that there were skeptics like me, there were people like me who would not touch meditation with a 10-foot pole. But now, having gone through what really felt like a transformation, that I felt compelled to share the story, and the book practically wrote itself. And I'll admit, I'd never written anything other than my PhD or my proposals for my clients. And I got a C plus in creative writing in college. I took a class in writing and didn't do so well. And I came back from the retreat, and within the first 2 or 3 weeks, I had finished the first draft. And it was not, I didn't feel like I was doing something by force. It was just coming through me. And that's how the first edition of the book came out, now almost 15 years ago.
And as I'm reading this book, I'm also looking at all the amazing endorsements from Sharon Salzberg, from Harvard Business School, professors, from former CEOs from all over the world. So it's a very interesting journey that you lay out through your own experience, how you went from being skeptic to almost, almost the spokesperson for Vipassana. And as you know, right now, mindfulness has become so fashionable, it's almost a meme. Tell us about your practice every day.
Yeah, so Deepak, I follow what is advised in the Vipassana tradition. My goal is to practice for 2 hours every day, 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour in the evening. But truthfully, the morning hour is easier to ensure happens. So that happens with regularity. The evening hour depends on what's happening in the evening. You know, there are days in which I have late night commitments with clients or colleagues, and in those days it's hard. But there are times when I'm able to at least do a half hour, if not another full hour. And given my travel, sometimes I'm able to do that also while I'm traveling, because meditation is something you can do on a plane, on a train, or even the back of a car, certainly in hotels. And then every year I do commit to doing one residential retreat, like the one that I did in the first instance that led to all of these changes. And increasingly, I'm adding a little bit more to that. So I do one regular 10-day retreat, but then a few short weekend retreats as well. Um, so yeah, that's the extent of my practice at the moment.
How has life changed before and now post this experience?
So I think, Deepak, I mean, that's a great question. And in fact, that was one of the reasons I actually wrote the book, because I wanted to both, with my own sort of, call it scientific slash analytical mind, say, is it worth the effort? But the changes have been quite significant. They've been in many aspects of my life, professional, personal. If I just think about just even my mindset, right, my outlook, I was easily prone to anxiety and stress. To I feel not completely rid of anxiety or stress, but I feel much more at ease with my circumstances and able to frankly eradicate stress from arising in ways that is unhelpful. And I think meditation does it just like exercise does the same thing for the physical body. Some personal lifestyle choices I made, which were rather spontaneous. I stopped drinking alcohol. Now, this is not something I prescribe everyone does, but it's almost like alcohol and meditation don't go together. Um, I quit eating meat. And I was a meat eater from childhood, and also the idea of harming an animal to become my meal no longer made sense. So, and it was a spontaneous change, and it's the 14th year in since my first retreat, and both those things have stayed the way they are. And in fact, I feel more and more confident in my resolve to continue doing that. And those are more lifestyle related things. I think on the relational stuff, I can safely say my relationships have improved, because one of the things I feel meditation does is it allows you more of a 360 perspective on things, and naturally so, rather than just cognitively trying to talk yourself into it. And I think my barometer there would be my wife, who you'd ask that would recall that I was easily prone to being angry, or mostly seeing my point of view on things, or trying to win arguments because I felt my thinking was more salient, and so forth. So many of those things started to spontaneously and yet gradually evolve. Health wise, I feel I was fine before. I've been an athlete all my life, and my interest in now both mind and body health is more. So these are just some of the things. In fact, for my kind of readership, I created a little consulting style table at the back of the book, which is what was my baseline before and what is my current state. I think it's in pages 200, 1, 2, and 3. And I broke it down into three categories, which is mind, body, and speech, because there were changes that were quite significant. Yeah, those tables in the back basically summarize the pre-Vipassana baseline and current day. And the version of the book that you're holding is actually the 10th anniversary edition of the book, because many people then asked, okay, whether this was just a one-hit wonder type of thing or what happened after that, the first 10-day retreat. So I wrote almost an additional book plus the original book revised to reflect what were the things that were coming up at the time, 10 years from when the original experience happened.
So I'm looking at this page. It says all the changes. It's just talking about all the changes that Manish went through as a result of Vipassana practice. It says focus and attention, high degree of mind wandering, and now focus attention when desired on one task at a time. Previously unconsciously and unproductive, prone to multitasking, and now switching tasks consciously when needed versus multitasking. On awareness, prior to meditation, low self awareness and diffused insight into others, and now conscious of thoughts, emotions, and physical surroundings. Stress level, visibly hassled when certain situations were not playing out, now increasingly equanimous towards outcomes, whether favorable or unfavorable. Outlook, insecure about future and uncomfortable with uncertainty, premeditation, and post, increasing comfort with uncertainty and neutral perspectives on life situations. Worthiness correlated to academic, professional, or monetary achievement. Now, belief that social, economic, or academic standing is not the primary indicator of self worth. So, this is the book, and Manish Chopra is the author. I'm finding it very interesting read. I haven't finished it. For those in our audience who might be a little confused about Vipassana, it's basically what mindfulness is talking about. To be aware in the present moment without judgment of sensations, images, feelings, thoughts, perceptions, and everything, the world in general. And again, for those who are not familiar with the origins of Vipassana, they come from the teachings of the Buddha. So he started with the breath awareness. And just in that, he had amazing insights, from being aware of breath as a sensation. He said, whatever is in the nature of arising is always also in the nature of subsiding. This led to the law of impermanence. And then looking at every sensation the same way, whether it's bodily sensations, perceptions, situations, circumstances, they're all come and go. They arise and then they subside. So that was his first insight. But then immediately based on this practice of Vipassana, he connected with impermanence, but also connected with what he called the separate mind being an illusion, the separate mind being a socially induced hallucination, because all experiences are entangled with everybody else's experiences. There's a phrase in Buddhism, we are inter-beings that inter-arise in the inter-isness. And once you have that experience, then empathy, which is feeling what others feel, compassion, the desire to alleviate suffering, love in action, equanimity, and ultimately even the loss of the fear of death, because the separate self is what fears death, what fears everything, the fear of the unknown, anxiety, anger, hostility, shame, guilt, depression all come from this hallucination, separate self. And just through this practice, the origins of the Four Noble Truths, and right now what Manish said, the Eightfold Path, even how to speak and speak in a way that's evolutionary and healing. And Vipassana is one way to get back to wholeness and go beyond Manish's original pattern of thinking, which he said was reductionist, and now he thinks in terms of wholeness. Highly recommend the book. And what's next? You have a new book. Actually, I'm seeing it out there on my desk. What's next?
Thank you, Deepak. Yeah. So I've just finished writing the next book. It's called Emergent Gems. So if the first book is a little bit more like a chronicle, it's a story of the initial change and the experiences I've had. The Emergent Gems is a compilation of insights that have emerged spontaneously through the years of meditation. And some of these are, call them timeless truths, but they spoke to me in a more powerful and internalized way. And some are new ideas that I feel may be beneficial for the world to hear. So it's another offering to see if it can be of benefit to people, and certainly something that emerged from the practice of meditation.
When does this new book come out? Emergent Gems.
I think it'll be out in the next 3 to 6 months. The publication process has begun.
Hmm.
And with them, it's the timeline is sometime between April and June. Let's say the book will be out.
Perfect. I look forward to speaking to you again. And Manish is, as I said, senior partner at McKinsey. He's bringing spirituality, awareness, consciousness to the corporate world and much more. Thank you for joining me, Manish.
Thank you, Deepak, for having me. Real privilege.